We have with us today Ms. Marilyn Cade, CEO at mCade Strategies, who will talk about internet governance. Then we will have Mr. Aimal Marjan, who is former Deputy Minister IT of Ministry of Communication and Information Technology.
My name is Marilyn Cade, and I've worked in the internet and computer systems areas for many years. I helped to found AT&T's computer system business back in the 90s and our ISP. So I come from a relatively deep and long experience in working in the internet and then working in the public policy areas to keep the internet an open and interoperable space that could continue to grow and continue to bring more and more people into the online world. So I use an example of trying to explain internet governance by using the parable of the 9 blind men and the elephant. Depending on what part of the elephant you're touching, that is the part of internet governance that matters to you. So if you're particularly interested, as we go through the list of topics and issues that make up internet governance, you'll see that there are somewhere around 20 to 30 different issues. But it all depends on what part of the internet policy environment is of most interest to you, whether it's the part that helps to create jobs or the part that focuses on cybersecurity or child safety or improving access. So the internet governance concept grew out of an effort on the part of two governments at the ITU to propose that if the internet was going to be so important, and since it connected to the telecom networks, then why didn't the ITU, the International Telecommunications Union, just take it over? And about this same time, a public consultation began that led to the creation of ICANN. The UN Secretary General established something called the World Summit on the Information Society, WSIS for short, and it was out of that 4-year summit that a document was developed called the Tunis Agenda, which for the first time established the requirement that stakeholders, as well as governments, so civil society, NGOs, the technical community, and business, come together with governments on an equal footing to discuss the kind of policies that would affect the internet. That was a very big change for governments. And at the end of the Tunis Agenda is a call for the creation of something called the Internet Governance Forum. So remember, in the past, governments always thought that public policy was their purview. But under the Tunis Agenda, there is an agreement by heads of state that it can be more than a government decision that affects policy. It is also codes of conduct, best practice, standards. It does take laws and regulation, but the important thing about multi-stakeholder engagement, which is the baseline of internet governance, is the idea that everybody's voice and opinion is important and that it needs to be increasingly inclusive and participatory. So there are 4 categories of stakeholders according to the Tunis Agenda. That is really evolving now, 14 years later, but in Tunis, we thought about the business sector, the governments and the IGOs, the international organizations and the intergovernmental organizations, civil society and individual users, and the technical community. Remember that the internet in 1996 basically looked like this little, would you go forward one, please? In 1969, that's what the internet looked like. It basically was 4 computers connected together. In the last several years, the trends that are dramatically changing the traffic that is on the internet are coming from machine-to-machine communications and from video communications. And that is making a huge difference in the uses that the internet is being put to, but also a huge change in the kinds of dependencies, because now the more we put our businesses online, the more we put banking online, the more we put our personal communications online, we're creating an environment where we have to worry about the online world just as we worry about the offline world. So this is what the internet traffic looked like 10 years ago. And today, this slide, when it is digitized, is 4 times as busy as it is here. So just to go back to the point I was making, the more we put business online, the more we put government services online, the more we put education online and healthcare delivery and manufacturing, then we really have to think about who's going to make the rules. Is it going to be national governments? Is it going to be treaties? Should there be some kind of requirement that in educational systems, children and teachers are given special coaching on how to be effective and safe users on the internet, not just to use the World Wide Web to search for information, but also to learn about the fact that the face of work is changing. And the world that children today are coming into is going to require them to be much more math and science savvy, not just savvy about the fact that they know how to turn on their car, but the fact that their car may be automated, or that the system that is helping them to keep track of what is going on in their business is much more online than it was at the time their parents were growing up. This is a slide from the Diplo Foundation, and the Diplo Foundation does online training on internet policy issues. And one of the things to think about is internet governance will always be under construction. So if you look at this slide closely, what you'll see is there are a lot of players, and we'll go through some of those, but also the topics are legal, development, cybersecurity, economic growth, the social cultural impact of the online world, which we're hearing a lot more about these days, as we're seeing a lot of concern about misinformation, disinformation, and fake news affecting the decisions that people are making about using the internet and the trust that people have in the internet. When we walked out of Tunis in 2005, we were focused really on only 4 or 5 topics. And today, we're focusing on, at the Internet Governance Forum and in the national IGFs, we're focusing on a much bigger number of those topics and trying to make sure that you are learning about how these forums are addressing these issues and the input that they're providing to governments, so your voice is also being taken forward. ISOC chapters and ISOC focuses on a particular part, much more on the technology and also on the issues of the open and interoperable internet. So think about ISOC and the IGF as sort of being twin sisters. Bahir will talk about ICANN, and there's a distinct linkage as well between what ICANN does and what the ISOC does and what the Internet Governance Forum does, because of the interdependency on the operation, safety, security, and resiliency and growth of the internet. I used to be able to name all of the organizations that were working on internet governance. This is just a small snapshot of some of the players that talk about internet governance and think they have a role to play. Everything from all the UN agencies. I'm working right now on an international conference with FAO, the UN Food Agency, and with a couple of other agencies that you wouldn't normally have thought about when you think about internet governance. But because of the dependency on the internet and on the online world, all of a sudden these issues are just as important, so that we understand what different UN agencies are doing. And here we have the UN itself, we have the World Bank, we have the African Union, the European Commission. We also have elected and appointed policymakers, and I think that's one of the benefits of participating in the IGF Afghanistan and also in the IGF itself, is the ability to engage directly with your elected and appointed policymakers and to share your views about how the public policies and programs that they are trying to implement to help all citizens can also include your concerns. In the middle, we have the technical groups and the businesses, and on the right-hand side, we have the NGOs and media, think tanks, academics. More and more, the media has an important role to play because the media is the way that so many people learn about changes and become aware of what is going on, both politically but also from technology. This is either a list of some of the important meetings that address internet governance, or it's Marilyn Cade's personal travel schedule. Either one is scary, right? But at all of these different places, meetings that take place throughout the year, governments and other stakeholders are coming together and talking about some of those issues that we just talked about. 14 years after Tunis, the Tunis agenda, we're at a potential turning point again, just as we were then, where because of the growth and the importance of the internet and the social media world, there are growing numbers of concerns about internet governance policy. That includes security and privacy, but it also includes big concerns about the impact of social media. In particular, there are questions about whether certain social media giants are behaving, large corporations are behaving as responsibly as they should be. The European Commission and the U.S. Federal Trade Commission and Department of Justice are looking at antitrust implications for some of those big companies. There are questions about whether those companies have done enough to deal with the hostile use of their platforms, where the social media is being used to radicalize, to spread false information. And it's a very interesting but sticky question of who makes the decision to take information off that someone has chosen, off the social media platform that someone has chosen to put on. Who's the judge of what is disinformation and misinformation? So it's a big debate going on in a number of places. Many countries are very concerned about radicalization of their youth through the use of the internet and the online media platforms. Governments have concerns about certain of the companies doing business in their country but not paying taxes. So basically taking a business opportunity but not paying business taxes and not being accountable to national law. In 1918 last year, the UN Secretary General and the French President, who was the host for the IGF, called for changes and relooking at the models we have today. And the Secretary General has recently begun reinforcing the fact that multilateral, which means government to government, discourse is needed, as well as multi-stakeholder. That's a very tense discussion in some settings because certain governments are not open to allowing citizens direct access to participate. In many of the global fora I work in, there are a few governments who will bring advisors from the technical community, the business community, civil society with them on their delegations. Afghanistan is one, Nigeria is another, the Europeans, of course. But there are certain governments who will not allow anyone other than a government official to even attend these meetings on their delegation. So, as you all know, we continue to face the need to focus on connecting the unconnected and the underconnected. And that continues to be a really big problem in many parts of the world. the measurement of counting who's using the internet often counts people who access the internet only once a week or once a day. And they only access the internet for essential purposes because of the cost. So this is not integrated into daily life. There are many, many parts of the world where women do not have access to smartphones and may not even have access to a mobile phone. Sometimes it's because of poverty and the phone leaves with the father when he goes out to work. Sometimes it's for cultural reasons. In 2 of the states in Nigeria, women are not allowed to have any kind of electronic device in the home or to go online even with the approval of their husband because there is a very strong cultural perception that there is no useful content other than European propaganda, Western propaganda, and information that is not suitable for their culture. So one of the challenges we continue to face is how do we change the availability of useful content and information and make it available in more languages. Over 700 million people worldwide are totally illiterate, and the vast majority of those are women. That means they don't read or write at all, not even their native language. So when we think about applications, and we think we're going to give someone a smartphone that is going to give them access to the internet, that's going to change their life, we have to also think about how we're going to give that information in a meaningful way. Not by text, and not by asking people to watch videos that are expensive to download. There are other applications and other approaches that are being developed, and I know of many that are being really kind of brought forward by entrepreneurs that are helping to deliver healthcare coaching and education coaching and information for small farmers that's being provided in multiple languages by audio and by small video clips. But when we think about the world moving into going much, much more digital, and we really want to think about how we see the creation of new jobs helping to create jobs for our young people in all countries, we also have to think about how we bring the older generation also into the ability to use and understand the digital world. There are lots of reasons why countries are lagging, and sometimes it's because it's a former conflict country, like your own or others. Sometimes it's because, just to use Nigeria as an example, there are about 5 states that don't recognize the national government. So it's a difficult situation to try to put forward a unified approach. Many countries are struggling with having enough technical expertise to actually install and maintain the rapid growth of infrastructure. There are issues in many countries with corruption. There are issues with, as I mentioned earlier, concerns about freedom of expression, freedom of information, etc. You are participating in a pre-event to the IGF, the Internet Governance Forum of Afghanistan. And again, when we walked out of Tunis in 2005, there were no national IGFs. Today there are 114. And you should be very proud of the fact that in Afghanistan, that you have now successfully held a 3-day event 3 years in a row. This will be your 3rd year. In the United States, I founded the IGF USA. We can only do 1 day. So you're clearly moving ahead and one of the real innovative leaders in helping. There are many countries who don't yet have an IGF at the national level. So now I'll share with you my second analogy about what is internet governance. We all know what an umbrella is. And those spokes in the umbrella may be the topics: cybersecurity, privacy, data protection, child online safety, economic growth and opportunity. But people often think that umbrellas are only for rainy days. They are, the concept of internet governance is an umbrella phrase. And really for you, as you become more involved in internet governance and start to participate, if you're not already, in the ISOC chapter and continue to participate with the IGFA Afghanistan, you don't have to participate in every one of those areas. As I said, you can pick the one that's most meaningful to you. And I know you're going to hear later about the issue of child online safety and safety, digital safety for users. So I look forward to being around for the next 3 days and having a chance to engage with any of you. I spend a lot of time at ICANN. We're going to hear from an ICANN speaker shortly. I also spend a lot of time on internet governance issues and on working with small and mid-sized businesses in Africa and in a number of other countries. So I look forward to having a chance to talk with you throughout the next 3 days. Thank you.
Software جوړ شوي دي ډېر پخوا هم جوړ شوي اوس هم خلک استفاده کوي نو بیا ته نسې کولی چې انټرنیټ پیجز وګورې صرف دا کولی شي چې هغه سافټویر چې د ما په کمپیوټر تا په کمپیوټر کې ده ډیټا ولېږلی سمه ځکه چې د ما کمپیوټر تاسو کمپیوټر سره کنیکټ ده د انټرنیټ له طریقه خو ویب نسته ویب ته چې موږ ځو هغه وخت چې د ما په کمپیوټر چې کوم معلومات دي هغه زه وکړی سمه چې په میلیونونو کسانو ته ورکړمه نو زه څه کومه ورلډ وایډ ویب استفاده کوم هغه بیا بل لیر ده چې هغه لیر څوک پر مخ وړي هغه د ورلډ وایډ ویب د W3C کنسورشیم چې ده صحیح ده هغې په هکله باید تاسو ځان پوه کړئ چې هغه څنګه کار کوي د هغوی پروتوکول څه شي دي د هغوی اصول څه شي دي د هغوی برنامې څه شي دي چیرته وجود لري څوک پکې انوالو دي صحیح ده نو موږ کنیکټیویټي وکړه موږ د خبره خلاصه کړه چې د موږ ډیوایسز وغږیږي موږ د اپلیکې د انفارمیشن د راکړې ورکړې مسله حل کړه دا درې مسلې د موږ حل شوې اوس راځو دا چې دغه شبکه اول په یو ښار کې بیا په مملکت کې بیا په یو سیمه کې او بیا په ټول نړۍ کې دا څنګه کار کوي سره دا د ډي ان اس موضوع موږ تاسو ټول پوهیږو ضروري نه چې ډي ان اس څه ده د ډي ان اس د مدیریت لپاره تر څو چې وکړی سو دغه وړې شبکې ټول یو بل سره وپیژني سره کنیکټ سي نو یو بل اداره رامنځته شوه د امریکې د حکومت له طرفه هغه د آیکان اداره چې بیا د آیکان اداره په 2014 کې نړیواله شوه نړیواله په دې معنی چې هغه ملکیت اونرشپ تصمیمګیري نړیوال شو د 2014 نه مخکې اکثره د امریکې هیواد د یو مملکت حکومت او د یو ادارې نړیوال ادارې ډېر زیاتې د آیکان په تصمیمګیري کې ډېر زیات رول درلوده خو 2014 کې دغه رول تقسیم شو ټول هیوادونو د ادارو ته د حق ورکړل شو چې د آیکان په نړیوالو تصامیمو کې بحث وکړي او برخه واخلي آیکان څه کوي د آیکان یو ډېر مهم رول هغه دا چې هغه تاسو ډي ان اس ساتي د ډي ان اس فعال ساتلو لپاره آیکان شپه ورځ مصروفه ده مسؤوله ده هم مصروفه ده هم مسؤوله ده ځکه که د تا ډي ان اس سرورز کار ورنکي نو تا باندې تاسو هیڅ آی پی ادرس نشئ پیدا کولی ځکه کوم یو آر ایل چې تاسو ورکوئ هغه باید ټرانسلیټ سي آی پی ادرس ته نو که آی پی ادرس پیدا نشئ کړئ نو تاسو هغه سیسټم ته نشئ رسېدلی چې هغه ډیوایس ته ونه رسېږي نو تاسو هغه انفارمیشن نشئ فچ کولی نو معنا دا ده چې انټرنیټ کار نه کوي که د موږ ډي ان اس کار ورنکي په ټول نړۍ کې 14 ډي ان اس سرورز دي چې دغه 14 ډي ان اس سرورز د نړۍ په مختلفو فزیکي جیوګرافیک لوکیشنز کې تقسیم شوي دي او دا نو که موږ ورته چې ډي ان اس سرور دا یو غټ ډیوایس نه ده دا د ډیرو ډي ان اس سرورو کلسټر په یو منطقه کې نو هغې ته موږ وایو چې دغه ډي ان اس نمبر 1 د 2 3 ته 13 پورې نو ټول 14 ډي ان اس سرورز لرو په ټول نړۍ کې د دې مسؤلیت چا سره ده آیکان سره ده ښه اوس مونږ فزیکل لیر هم پیدا ک مونږ سټانډرډز مسله هم حل شوه یو بل سره کمیونیکیشن مسله هم حل شوه مونږ شبکې چې په مختلفو برخو د نړۍ کې دي یو ته د رسیدو مسله هم ډي ان اس سره حل کړه مثلا دا چې مونږ کنیکټ یو هر څه سم روان دي تخنیک لنګانو خو مسله حل شوه دلته اوس بحث رامنځته کیږي د سیاست. تاسو چې دغه OSI ماډل ګورئ هغه څو لیئرز لري؟ 7 لیئرز لري که نه؟ 2 نور لیئرز هم شته هغه موږ وینو نه، هغه په کتابو کې نشته. هغه 2 نور لیئرز دي، هغه د سیاست لیئر ده او هغه د مالي مسایل لیئر ده، فاینانشل لیئر او پولیټیکل لیئر ده. دغه 2 لیئرز هیڅ وخت موږ تاسو ته په کتابو کې په لیکچرو کې نه ویل کیږي. دا 2 لیئرز هغه وخت تاسو نړۍ د سیاست نړۍ ته داخل شئ بیا تاسو د 2 لیئر سره مخامخ کیږئ. پولیټیکل لیئر څنګه چې ملن یو ډېر سلایډ وښوده، په سلګونو ادارې دا اوس د انټرنیټ ګورننس کې اخته دي. څوک وایي چې انټرنیټ سره هغه باید د ښځو حقوق په ځای کړي، څوک وایي چې انټرنیټ باید د ماشومانو حقوق په ځای کړي، څوک وایي حکومتونه باید انټرنیټ ته لاسرسی ولري، څوک وایي چې حکومتونه باید کنټرول کړي، څوک وایي چې نه سیول سوسایټي باید کنټرول کړي، څوک وایي چې نه څوک چې کانټینټ جوړي هغه باید کنټرول کړي. نو څه وخت چې تاسو له دغه 7 لیئرز نه 8 او 9 لیئر ته داخل شئ نو دلته مسله به حده پیچیده او کمپلیکس کیږي. به حده هماغه چې د تونس کانفرنس سره رامنځته شو، هلته بحث هم دا و چې راځئ دغه جنجال سره دا باید موږ ټول حکومتونه، سیول سوسایټیز، اکاډمیا، د موږ خصوصي سکتور، دوی ټول باید دغه موضوع په ګډه د موضوع ته فکر وکړي او د موضوع ته حل پیدا کړي. نو هماغه د تونس کانفرنس را شروع د نن پورې د IGF مسایل رامنځته شول، د لوکل IGF مسایل رامنځته شول، د سب چپټرز ډیر زیات شول په نورو هیوادو کې. دا بحث ډیر زیات نړیوال شو. د دې نه چې 1 2 3 حکومتونه کوم ډیر قوي دي او اکثره ټیکنالوژي په هغوی په کنټرول کې لغې نه دا بحث راووته او نړیوال شو. اوس مونږ ستونزه زیاتره په د آخري 2 لیئرز کې ده، کوم چې په د OSI ماډل کې نشته. بحث مو ټول الته او اکثره وخت انټرنیټ چې کار نه کوي، انټرنیټ چې اویلیبل نه وي، دغه نورو لیئرز مشکل دومره نه وي څومره چې دغه پاسنوي 2 لیئرز مشکل وي. مثلا یوټیوب ګوګل په چین کې کار نه کوي. آیا د دې مشکل داره چې چین کنیکټ نه ده په فایبر اپټیک؟ نه، چین کنیکټ ده. آیا د معنا داره چې په چین کې چې کوم ډیوایسز دي، کوم سویچز، راوټرز دي، هغه د IEEE سټانډرډز نه فالو کوي؟ نه، ټول فالو کوي. هواوی او ZTE کې د خپل شرکتونه هغه هم هغه سټانډرډز فالو کوي. آیا موږ دا وایو چې نه چین سره هغه دغه 13 DNS سرورو سره کنیکټ نه ده؟ نه، هغه هم کنیکټ ده، ټول ده. خو ولې ګوګل کار نه کوي؟ ولې یوټیوب کار نه کوي؟ ځکه سیاست دل داخل دی. د چین سیاست وایي چې د ما دا کانټینټ نه ده پکار، دا بند کوي. انټرنیټ کار کوي خو د سیاست لپاره انټرنیټ کار نه کوي. صحیح ده؟ یا ملن یو ډېر ښه مثال ورکړه، 4 میلیارډ کسان انټرنیټ ته لاسرسی نه لري. ډېر هیوادونه دي د هغوی حکومتونه غواړي چې انټرنیټ ته لاسرسی ولري خو بودیجه نه لري. صحیح ده؟ هم شبکه شته د هغوی شاوخوا ته، مثلا پیسفیک آیلینډز دي، څنګو ته ټول سبمرین کیبلز تیر شوي دي، له استرالیا نه شروع همداسې تر امریکې او همداسې تر افریقا او تر اسیا پورې تیر شوي. خو ستونزه دا ده چې هغوی هغه سبمرین کیبل ته کنیکټ نه دي. ولې؟ ځکه هغوی هغه بودیجه نه لري چې هغه ځان کنیکټ کړي. سیاسي اراده هم شته خو بودیجه نشته. نو انټرنیټ څه وخت کار کوي باید هغه 1 لیئر پلس 2 لیئرز دا ټول باید کار وکړي. که نه کوي نو که په دا 1 پلس 2 کې چارج کې مشکل پیدا سو نو انټرنیټ کار نه کوي. نو دا کوم ټاپک چې موږ نن بحث لرو په افسک کې او د IGF راتلونکي 2-3 ورځو کې، هغه اصلا موږ دا 2 جمع 2 لیئر ټول باید ټچ کړو. بحث زیات کیږي آخري 2 لیئرز کې کیږي، کوم چې موږ انجینران ته هیڅ وخت د هغې تدریس نه کیږي، نه تر خبر یو. څه وخت چې بیا تاسو خپل وزارت او دفتر او NGO ته لاړ شئ او بیا تاسو ډېر ښکلی یو ماډل جوړ کړئ، بیا تاسو خپل مینجمنټ ته چې ما ته راکړي $1,00,000 چې زه تا د NGO بهترین نیټورک در جوړ کړم، او بیا هغه فاینانس درته وایي چې سوري ما سره پیسې نشته. نو د موږ تاسو انجینرانو مسله همالته ختمه شي. هغه څه فکر هم چې درلوده، څه عقل هم چې په کار اچولی، هغه ټول یو مالي ډیپارټمنټ هغه موږ ته ختم کړي. او یا دا راځي که تاسو داسې یو مدیر سره کار ولرئ، یا تاسو هغه سوپروایزر یا د ادارې مشر داسې یو څوک واوسیږي چې هغه ټکنالوژي سیوی نه وي، نو کیدای شي هغه درته وایي چې بیادر تو بشی، این مهم نیست، اول بیان که ما لند کروزر نداریم، اول باید موتر بخریم، اول باید ما قرطاسیه داشته باشیم. دغه 2 مسائل د موږ تاسو د دفتر له شبکې شروع همدغسې نړیوال انټرنیټ غټ شبکو ټول باندې تاثیر لري. بحث دلته ختمومه ځکه راتلونکي 2-3 ورځو کې به تاسو په دې هره برخه باندې ځان ته ډېر سیشنز ولرئ، خو کوشش وکړئ چې د آی ټي کسان یاستئ مطلق صرف ځکه د نن ورځې دغه ضرورت په دې شکل ده، صرف تاسو چې په هغه د آی ټي په فزیکل مسایلو کې مصروف یاستئ، لږ وخت باسئ او دا کوم ټاپکونه چې دلته لیست ول او لیست کیږي په راتلونکو 2-3 ورځ هغوی باندې هم لږ مطالعه کوئ، IEEE مطالعه کوئ، آیکان مطالعه کوئ، W3C مطالعه کوئ، همدغسې هغه ادارې چې د انټرنیټ سره راسن یا مستقیم غیر مستقیم سروکار لري هغه مطالعه کوئ. یو ډېر غټ لیست دی، آیکان سایټ ته لاړ شئ نو هلته تاسو ته په لسګونو حتی زه وایم له 100 نه پورته ادارې د هغوی لیست درکړی ده. مثلا د انټلیکچوال پراپرټي موضوع وایپو څه کار لري په انټرنیټ کې؟ نه هغه سافټویر جوړوي، نه هغه سټنډرډ جوړوي، نه هغه کوم مینوفیکچرینګ کوي، خو سروکار یې څه ده؟ ځکه هغه څه کوي؟ هغه تا انټلیکچوال پراپرټي تا کوم کانټینټ کوم سافټویر جوړ کړی د هغې د دفاع لپاره د هغې د حفاظت لپاره وایپو سروکار لري. که یو څوک وایپو وګوري نو هغه به وایي چې وایپو خو صرف د انټلیکچوال پراپرټي په انډسټري پورشن کې باید اوسیږي یا د کتاب لیکلو په برخه کې اوسي، په انټرنیټ کې څه کار لري؟ هغه ستا هلته د کانټینټ یو غټ بحث ده چې کانټینټ باید په انګلیسي اوسي، په عربي اوسي، په پښتو، دري، ازبکي، په کومو ژبو اوسیږي، یو غټ بحث ده. دا تاسو لاړ شئ وګورئ، د یونیسکو سایټ ته لاړ شئ، په انټرنیټ باندې بحث وګورئ چې روان، په یونډیسا کې وګورئ د انټرنیټ بحث څه شی ده، په یونیسف کې وګورئ د انټرنیټ بحث څه شی ده. نو انټرنیټ اوس د موږ تاسو د انجینرانو یا د آی ټي کسانو صرف د موږ تاسو د نیټورک جوړونې بحث پرې اوس محدود نه پاتې. دا بحث ډېر غټ سوی ده ځکه موږ تاسو د انفارمیشن سوسایټي په دنیا کې اوسیږو، موږ تاسو ټول کنیکټ یو، نو چې څه وخت ټول کنیکټ یو باید موږ د ژوند د هره برخه چې د انټرنیټ سروکار لري له ټول نه خبر اوسیږو.